Good thing I'm patient, but man, the waiting game continues. And yeah, I'm not getting any younger. Oh, it is. It is another episode, a Monday episode of Dono Daily here on the Five Reasons Sports Network. I am Alex Dono. Just got back last night from 3 days down in the Florida Keys. I was told this morning by maybe just it's the lighting that I use. I have to light, I have to illuminate my face. But I was told this morning when I was doing my Locked On Kane stream that somehow I spent 3 days in the Keys and I actually am more pale upon returning. But I don't think so, man. I think I got a little sun. Let me see if I turn this light off, if it makes any difference. You can kind of see that. Nose, cheeks look a little rosier. I was using very strong sunscreen, but I still like to think that some of that got through. Hello, Heat Nation. Hello, everyone. Orlando, I'm sorry you're having a horrible day, man. Hopefully we could get some good news on this dilemma. Well, if you're talking about the Kevin Durant dilemma, I don't think there's exactly good news. There's not bad news either. In fact, I will say that I interpret the waiting game and the fact that Brooklyn have not had their socks blown off by anyone else's offer, I will take that as good news. Didn't your mom tell you sometimes no news is good news? And I think when you're in a situation that the Miami Heat are in, they want to be aggressive. They want to bring in a piece like Kevin Durant. I say that as if there's a lot of Kevin Durants running around. They want to add Kevin Durant. We know the Heat do. We know Pat Riley would love to trio KD with Jimmy and Bam if he could actually be greedy enough to keep all three of these guys on the roster. And we know Pat's reputation, right? Back in the day when he wanted Zoe and Timmy, made it happen. When he wanted Shaquille O'Neal, made it happen. When he wanted LeBron and Bosh, made them happen. When he wanted Jimmy Butler, made them happen. It doesn't seem to matter if who he's acquiring is via trade or via free agency. Pat Riley has a history of making those things happen. And you're in a situation that the Heat are in where you've got the best darn exec in the business who doesn't have a whole lot of patience, who has a history of making these deals and sometimes conjuring these deals out of nowhere, but you don't have a whole lot to give up in terms of assets, in terms of future draft picks, and in terms of all-star caliber players that you're willing to part with when you don't have a whole lot of assets to stack up. I think it is good news that we don't see attractive offers appearing elsewhere, because even though reports on KD's situation are coming in from a number of different sources, and some of the news is pointing him in different directions, everyone seems to agree that at this moment, 3 days after Kevin Durant requested a trade, 3 weeks, sorry, not 3 days, 3 weeks. I was up very early this morning, so forgive me if my words don't always make sense. So it's 3 days now since Kevin Durant requested a trade, and Brooklyn, they've actually been disappointed with the types of offers they're getting. I also think they need to understand that when you're talking about, for as good as Kevin Durant is, you're talking about a 34-year-old, a disgruntled 34-year-old player that teams aren't going to offer you their best, most attractive pieces right off the bat. You've got to play hardball. They're playing hardball right now. The teams that are making offers like Miami, and also, by the way, you're looking for good news. I forgot to mention this off the top. I think it's great news that with the Ayton situation, the Phoenix Suns are basically out of it now for Kevin Durant. So that is good news that you've got one less contender, and that was his other preferred destination outside of the Miami Heat. So you've got one less contender in the race for him now, and nobody's offer has blown Brooklyn away. I think the longer this goes, the better it could be for the Miami Heat. And one of our own, Greg Sylvander from the Five Reasons Sports Network, had one of the most important reports for this so far, that the Miami Heat, as we speak, are trying to maneuver for more draft picks. They're working to acquire assets to make the blockbuster trade happen. Because remember, the NBA has some dumb rules, okay? You can't trade consecutive first round draft picks for players. You have to stagger them out, a year. So the Heat are trying to acquire other draft picks to include in the deal. And they also have this dumb rule where, you can't have two players on rookie max extensions under contract via trades, which is why the Heat can't trade Bam Adebayo to Brooklyn as long as Ben Simmons is there, because the two of them being on the same team would violate that rule. I know most of you, myself included, don't want to trade Bam anyway for Kevin Durant or for anybody at this point. And I know Pat Riley would like to get this deal done without him. But yeah, the news from our guy Greg Sylvander that the Heat are trying to acquire multiple draft picks to send to either Brooklyn for Kevin Durant or to Utah for Donovan Mitchell. That shows you the Heat are being aggressive, that they're trying to make something happen. Now, my narrative has changed a little bit on Donovan Mitchell. Tell me if you guys feel the same way. But, Utah, after they got an absolute haul in exchange for Rudy Gobert, and they want to get even more in exchange for Donovan Mitchell, it sounds like too much. And, if the New York Knicks want to trade like their next 20 first-round draft picks for Donovan Mitchell, I think that price is too high. If the Knicks are willing to pay something, and I exaggerated that a little bit, but if they're willing to trade like 8 first-round draft picks for Donovan Mitchell, if they're really willing to do that, go with God. Okay, go ahead. I don't want that to be a deal that the Heat makes, because Donovan Mitchell, to me, doesn't play enough defense. He's not enough of a two-way player, great scorer, but I don't think he's worth that. I don't think he's worth giving up an arm and a leg and another arm for. Whereas Kevin Durant, you could argue he is much more of a complete player. And, he's a bigger guy who also gives you that incredible three-point shooting. Like, he checks off so many boxes, one of the best natural scorers that I've ever seen. And yeah, I agree with you, IMAX. Mitchell isn't worth that. He isn't worth that. So, yeah, I will take that from Greg Sylvander. And it's been reported by others that the Heat are trying to acquire additional picks to sweeten the pot. I would take that because part of this story, we mentioned that Brooklyn, they don't seem to be satisfied with any of the offers or trade scenarios they've received for Kevin Durant. They're holding out for more. Part of that is, according to Kurt Helin of NBC Sports, who does an awesome job, he did say Bam Adebayo is off the table in trade packages with Miami. Most of us think that, especially when it comes to your opening bargaining position, that's the right call. I'm not just saying, hey, take Bam, take my my 25-year-old potential superstar for your guy who's a decade older. Like, yeah, I know most of you would rather find a way to keep Bam and not offer him up, but according to Kurt Helin, he is off the table as Bam. And he says that would mean that the Nets' main return in a Durant trade would be Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson. And per Helin, the Nets are lukewarm on a Herro Robinson package. So that doesn't mean like they hate it, but that's, you got to give us a little bit something more to excite me. Hello, Anthony, by the way. Hello, everyone. I'll do a full roll call in the chat. Real quick, I want to remind you guys that this and every episode of Dono Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network brought to you by our awesome sponsors. We are brought to you by Prize Picks. Truly is daily fantasy simplified. When you sign up at Prize Picks, use our code FIVE for a deposit match up to $100. And we're brought to you by Better Edge, BETTOR Edge.com. Peer-to-peer sports betting. They're changing the game. Make sure you use our referral link, betteredge.com/5 reasons. So here's a couple of other news bits that came out more recently on Kevin Durant. Adrian Wojnarowski shared the latest on this. There's not a whole lot in here, but this makes sense to me. I think, though, that this is probably a bluff. Well, okay, let me give you the part of it that's a bluff. I've heard a lot of chatter the last couple of days that since the Brooklyn Nets aren't getting great offers for Kyrie or KD, that the Nets would say, you know what, we are totally open to just a reunion. Let's hug it out. You guys decide, hey, why don't we just run it back? Right? Just kidding. We weren't really talking about trading you. Let's just let water under the bridge, but let bygones be bygones. that the Nets could just decide, yeah, you know what, we don't like any of these offers. Let's just stay together and play together. I don't think KD would go for that. I think he's pretty insistent on getting out of there. And he doesn't seem like the type to me, especially with his position now as an elder statesman, one of the NBA elites. I don't think Kevin Durant is just going to say, you know what? Yeah, I very seriously and solemnly asked you for a trade 3 weeks ago, but don't worry about it. I got 4 years left on my deal. Let's just play basketball and see what happens. No, I think he's going to stay insistent on a trade. And I think as long as he's insistent on a trade, the Nets are going to try to fulfill that request. And so here's something that Adrian Wojnarowski said today. The Nets are still trying to find a deal for Kevin Durant. I think if Kevin Durant came to Brooklyn and said, hey, I've changed my mind. I want to be here. I'm committed to this. Well, of course, they would want him to stay. But if Kevin Durant's not doing that, you're still trying to trade him. You want players who want to be there. You don't want the environment to be filled with players who are unhappy, who don't want to be part of it. So, yeah, I think to what Woj is hinting there, I don't think KD is going to change his mind anytime soon. I really don't. Now, here's a bit. We talk about what the Heat don't want to give up for KD, and that's Bam. Obviously not Jimmy either. I think they consider Jimmy and Bam to be untouchable in this trade or any trade. And here's another report. This is from Michael Hode of yahoosports.com, who says the Nets wouldn't consider Kevin Durant trade with Raptors without Scotty Barnes included in the deal. Let me see what they say about this. The Raptors, hold on. All right, let me just read an excerpt. Bear with me here. The Nets haven't been able to find a suitable package in return for the 12-time All-Star, with rumors and speculation quieting in recent days. Despite the slowdown, Brooklyn is still shopping Durant and aiming as high as ever, according to Woj. So that's important to note, that even though the great offers aren't coming in, they're not lowering their demands. They're sticking to their guns. When it comes to a possible trade with the Raptors, they write, the Nets wouldn't even consider a deal unless it included reigning Rookie of the Year winner Scotty Barnes, says Woj. Toronto has no intention of moving the budding star, with a Barnes trade reportedly considered a non-starter last week. It's understandable why both sides are sticking to their guns. Durant is one of the greatest NBA players of all time and has 4 years remaining on his contract. Any team that acquires the 33-year-old, I said he was 34 because I think he's going to be 34 when the season starts. He's 33 right now. They would instantly become a contender, so the Nets should rightfully be seeking as big a haul as possible in return. The Raptors are reluctant to give up Barnes because the 20-year-old has sky-high potential on both sides of the ball and figures to be a franchise cornerstone for much longer than the 4 seasons Durant would be under contract. So, yeah, teams are not willing to completely mortgage their future for as good as Kevin Durant is. I think the Nets are just going to have to realize that, yeah, we're going to try to get as much as possible because this is still one of the greatest basketball players in the world, and that he could be, for certain teams, he could be the tipping point into winning a championship. I think that's the case with Miami. I think if you don't acquire KD and you sort of run it back from last year, I think you can make a deep playoff run, but you're more than likely not going to win it all. If you add KD, it completely changes the mix. Would do that, for Phoenix. Would do that for Memphis, for Golden State. Golden State's a weird one because a lot of people argue about that, whether he would or wouldn't want to go back there. I was listening to Five on the Floor from the other day, the last time they had an episode, and they kind of got into that conversation. And I tend to agree with what Ethan had to say about the legacy chatter for Durant, that, yeah, he does have 2 rings, but they were both at Golden State, and that's a Warriors team that won a ring before he got there, and they won one after he left there just this past season. So does it really, if you just want more rings just for the sake of having more rings, fine. But for the legacy, if that's the only place he wins rings and it's a team that's won them with and without him, then that's not really adding to his legacy, right? I mean, he could just say, hey, if I get 4 or 5 rings, no one's going to care where or when they came from. Maybe you could say that, but KD seems like the type of guy who would care about that. And I can't see him just saying, yeah, let me just go back to Steph and you win another one there. I don't really see that as being the case. But yeah, I think Brooklyn might just have to realize that, we're not going to get a whole lot. We're not going to get a player comparable to KD in return. We're just going to have to try and load up a ton of draft picks, and we'll get some good players in return. but then let's also try to load up on as many draft picks as we possibly can to hope that we can actually identify and develop the next great franchise player. Because since KD is entering the twilight of his career, it's just going to be hard. Like, you can't expect to get an all-star caliber player in their 20s in return for Kevin Durant in his 30s. That teams are going to be so reluctant to give that up, given that Kevin Durant he's got a window. He's got a creeping close championship window. So I think that's where we're at. Yeah. So, and I'll ask you guys again. I did see a couple people say it in the chat. Has your temperature changed at all on Donovan Mitchell? Because a week and a half ago, I was under the impression that you could probably get Mitchell for less than what you could get Kevin Durant for, but now it sounds like you'd have to give up more for Donovan Mitchell than for Kevin Durant. So no thanks. I'm good. Oh man. I mean, you would have to do a lot of things to make it work out money-wise. Giannis says, and hello, Giannis, Mr. Antetokounmpo. I don't think that's the same Giannis. I would do straight up Bam for KD with a couple of firsts, I guess. Well, I mean, the Heat seem to think Bam is a non-starter, and you would have to counter. I mean, obviously this is implied in any deal. You have to counterbalance the salaries a little bit more, but it doesn't sound like that's something that the Heat are willing to do. I think they're trying to give up just about anything but Bam. Alonzo says they're going to pry out as many Nick picks as they can, and they're going to rob. I think he's talking about Utah because the Knicks really want Donovan Mitchell, and the Knicks, they would give up, hey, just take every first round draft pick we have for the rest of the century. Just take them. Riley is too smart for Utah's shenanigans, especially with Riley. Riley is not going to want to give up too much to Danny Ainge. They hate each other. So it would be hard enough to expect them to do business with each other, period. But if they do business together, then neither guy is going to want to get taken by the other guy. Man. So yeah, let me remind you guys again about our awesome sponsors, prizepicks.com. It is revolutionizing the daily fantasy space. At Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. You simply select 2, 3, or 4 players and predict if they're going to go over or under their fantasy projections, and you win real cash. You can win 10 times your money for getting 4 predictions correct. It takes under 60 seconds to make your selections. You've probably seen the Prize Picks billboards. You've probably heard and seen hosts on the 5 Reasons Sports Network talking about Prize Picks. We all have a blast playing this, and I know that the viewers and listeners that we've turned on to Prize Picks all have a blast. Do yourself a favor and sign up today at prizepicks.com or the Prize Picks mobile app. It's very easy to deposit, very easy to withdraw money after you win all that great cash playing Prize Picks. And when you sign up and you make your first deposit, be sure to use our code 5. That's FIVE. Spell it out, and they're going to match your first deposit 100% up to $100. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy simplified. And the newest member of the Dono Daily family, they've been with the 5 Reasons Sports Network for a couple of months, is Better Edge. This is my new favorite sports betting destination. And what makes Better Edge unique, they're not run by a big casino. They're not offshore. Nothing shady about it. They don't take any fees. There's no hidden fees. There's no juice because they're not run by a big casino. They make their money through advertisements on the site. And folks, it's fully legal in 45 out of 50 states, including Florida. And if you're from another state and you want to check to make sure Better Edge is fully legal, go to betteredge.com and check it out. I think maybe like Alaska and Hawaii might be a couple of the exceptions. So if you're watching us from Honolulu, you got enough good things going on in your life, even if you can't play Better Edge. Don't worry about us over here in the continental 48, right? But betteredge.com, fully legal, fully available in Florida. And the way that they're able to do this without taking any fees is it's a social platform. So you pick the number, you pick the odds you want, and you play against someone else on the other side of it. I'm telling you, it's addictive. And make sure you use our referral link when you sign up. It's betteredge.com. That's BETTOR edge.com/5 reasons. It's betteredge.com/5 reasons. And they're going to give you a $20 referral bonus just for signing up and playing with us. So make sure you check out betteredge.com. Oh, I'd rather have a deep roster than two elite players. So you'd be talking about, I guess, if Bam was given up for KD, because if you were to find a way to get KD without giving up Bam, and maybe you don't consider Bam elite, that may be part of it. I think Bam is elite enough to be the third best player on a championship team, though. Like maybe not right now, maybe not the second best player, certainly not the best player on a championship team, but I think he's good enough to be the third best player on a championship team. So if you're able to have a top three on your roster of Jimmy, Bam, and KD, I don't necessarily think you're championship favorites, but you're right there. That's the best puncher's chance you have of winning a title. I can't think of anything else you can do right now, not Donovan Mitchell. I can't think of anything else you can do right now in a really slow free agent class this year in terms of big time superstars, where most of the big possibilities are happening through trades. I think acquiring KD while keeping Bam, if you can manage it, and Jimmy gives you the best possible chance to win a championship. Because we're not only talking about the Jimmy Butler window, right? Jimmy, he's about the same age as KD. They've got roughly, maybe 3 years left of being championship caliber 1-2 punch in this league. Pat Riley's window, he's 77 years old. I don't know how much longer he wants to do this. He wants to leave a championship contender before he walks away, or a champion before he walks away. So his window is limited as well. So I think that's why you want to do this. Indade says Big Three worked because they chose the Heat. Warriors won before Kevin Durant, and then KD just signed with them. Warriors didn't have to trade their roster. Yeah, that's why you have to trust Pat Riley. Okay, because let's also remember, and I know drafting Dwayne Wade was a big part of this, but Pat Riley, he acquired Shaquille O'Neal via trade. 2 seasons later, you win an NBA championship. Riley acquires Jimmy Butler via trade. You're in the NBA Finals the next year, and then a couple years after that, you get one shot away from the NBA Finals. So it's not to say that there's no way to trade for a superstar and still be great. You just, again, you have to make sure you're not giving up too much, right? That's exactly why Pat Riley is sticking to his guns, why he's not willing to include either Bam or Jimmy in this deal. I think there's certainly a way to do it. I think there's absolutely a way to do this. And yeah, there are some decent players still unsigned. No doubt about that. I see the names being thrown out there in the chat. I think that the Heats, for the most part, they're not going to make any big time deals or relatively big deals until they see what's going on with Durant. I think this is kind of the holding pattern that they want to see if they have a chance or not. Yeah, and I like this. Good point, Alonzo. Riley turned Whiteside and negative cap space into Jimmy Butler. I will never doubt that man again. Yeah, I don't think anyone is doubting Riley. It's one of those things. I think it was late last week on the show when we read those accounts that Zach Lowe talked about on ESPN. He was out of Vegas Summer League talking to, anonymous NBA executives, and they all kept saying, like, rolling their eyes, like, oh, is Riley going to find a way to bring KD to the Heat? He always seems to find a way. He's going to end up in Miami, isn't he? All right, let me throw out some shout outs. I hope our guy Orlando, who said he was having a terrible day. I know we didn't have any. There's just not any real great news. So I hope we gave you enough hope to feel a little bit better about I'm having a crappy day as well, man. There's some things. I'm a big soccer fan, and a couple of targets that I thought my beloved Inter Milan were going to sign. It looks like they're not coming because just the whole freaking it's a lot like NBA free agency, right? Sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't. Things are not going my way today, so that's weighing on me. I am a Miami Hurricanes fan, as you guys see, and I host Locked On Canes every day. We have a YouTube channel for that as well, Locked On Canes, and things are going very well for the U. They seem to be hitting every recruit. Everybody's committing. So I've got that going for me. That's good. But not everything has been going great in my day so far. So I hope, Orlando, I hope we made you feel a little bit better. He says it's motivational enough. Thanks a lot for the shout out. You're welcome, man. Yeah. Respect. Alonzo Frisbee, thank you so much. He says, for the Heat's sake, the less news, the better. Bingo. Because you don't have a whole lot to offer for Kevin Durant. So if you don't have a whole lot to offer, and the Nets are fielding offers from every other team in the league who's interested, and if they haven't impressed the Nets with their offer and they're still waiting, he's right. The less news, the better. Because the longer this drags on, the better the Heat's package is going to look. He says, am I a Marlins fan? Yeah, to be honest, the Marlins made me less of a baseball fan, but I am a Marlins fan and swept and scored one run, outscored 16-1 in their last 3 games. That would ruin anyone's day. Maybe that's Orlando's problem. I think that may be what you're implying, baseball play. What a great username, by the way. Baseball player. Do you play baseball? I'm guessing, you very, very ham-fisted the way that you want everyone to know that you play baseball. Baseball player. Oh, my God. Oh, yeah, they sure don't. All right, so thank you so much, Indade. Thank you, Giannis, for tuning in. Shake Money, my dude, thank you so much. What's sad is I got to see the Marlins win a championship, 2 championships before the Dolphins. Oh, my God. Yeah. At least I hope you were enough of a Marlins fan to enjoy those, because I sure enjoyed those championships, especially 03, because that one just really felt like it came out of nowhere. The fire sales, though, were no fun. But thank you so much, Shake, for tuning in. Thank you, Orlando. Thank you, Kevin, Donut Dan, one of my favorite names in the chat. Still think we will end up with Barnes, Turner, or Collins, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Those would be upgrades, no question about it. That would make your team better. I've been seeing Schroeder to Miami on Bleacher Report, and I don't see that happening without a major move. 6 guards. Yeah, that would be a lot of guards. Thank you, IMAX, for tuning in. Thank you, Broham, for tuning in. Even if KD or Donovan goes somewhere else, they shouldn't make a move just to make a move. If they made a move for like Grant earlier this week, we wouldn't even be in the conversation now. Yeah, you always want to be in the conversation. Riley always wants to be in the conversation. Thank you so much, MP, for tuning in. Let's see, who else can we shout out? Try to shout out everybody we can. By the way, I should mention before we continue the shout outs, we had scheduled to join us at 2:40 our good pal Ricky J. Mark, and then something catastrophic. He's fine, by the way, but something catastrophic happened at his home. There was a thunderclap, and it KO'd his power. His power got knocked out, and he tells this happens to him like literally 5 minutes before the show's going to start. And I told him, dude, it wasn't thunder. It was the globalists, brother. They don't want you to speak out. Yeah, you have to understand. Soros, Hillary, Biden, they're all watching. They're all lurking. They're all paying attention. Ricky must have had some unbelievable truth bombs he was going to drop on us today. Like Ricky J. Mark, we'll get him on later this week once he gets his power back. But he must have had something incredible to talk to us about, because we were going to talk about all this NBA free agency stuff, Miami Heat stuff. And then 5 minutes before the show goes live, his power gets knocked out. I don't believe in coincidences, folks. I do not. I've been knocked off the air before, during shows, right before shows, and I know it's planned. I know someone's behind it. Someone doesn't want me to speak. Today, I guess they're okay with me speaking. They don't want Ricky to speak today. So let's hope that everything is all right at Casa de Ricky, because the globalists wanted to knock him right out of here. Shake Money, thank you so much for the super chat. Oh, yes. 03, that exactly. It was against the Yankees. That was a lot of fun because I knew a lot of Yankee fans. Like at least one of those games, I think game 1, I watched it at the home of a friend of mine who's a Yankees fan. He had like 5 of his idiot buddies from New York over watching the game, and they were, I think the Marlins won game 1 of that series. I'm pretty sure that they did. Whatever it was, I had the last laugh at the end of the series. That's for sure. That is for sure. So yeah, hopefully Ricky is okay. I know he is okay because I've been speaking to him, but he's got no power, which sucks. Oh man, Kevin, thank you so much. I may have already shouted out Kevin. Crypto Knight, thank you so much. Crypto market's coming back up a little bit. I mean, still, if you compare the market now to a few months ago, it's in the gutter. But compared to a few days ago, it's gone up a little bit. I'm happy about that. Not happy enough to like sell anything because it's still down, but it's up. It's up from being way down. Take a little trip with me. Hello. Triple today, brother. Had I filled in for Tobin this morning. I was up at 4:30. Tobin and Leroy locked on Canes in the late morning. Dono Daily today. All I want to do is sleep. All I want to do is sleep and hope for some good NBA news. That's all I want. Fernando, thank you so much for tuning in. My guy Anthony, thank you so much. Brian, George, thank you. I hate how some people have been dissing Herro so much lately. We forgot just 3 years ago, we had JJ Whiteside and Waiters as our main core players. Oh, that was a tough era. It's still impressive that Pat Riley was able to get us out of that so quickly because we were in it and it was terrible. And then he got us out of it, like turned on a dime. That's why we love Pat. Even though Pat Riley got us into that situation, he got us out of it. And for that, we are very appreciative. Victor, thank you for tuning in. Pimp named Slickback, thank you for being so slick. Luis, thank you so much for tuning in. George, and I think that's it. If I missed anybody, didn't skip you on purpose. Sometimes it just happens. Oh, here's a new one. Money. How we feeling about Kyrie if hypothetically we can't get KD or Donovan? Yeah, I haven't really thought too much about Kyrie because it just always seemed like it was Lakers or bust for him. But yeah, if we could swing it, I'd be fine with it. You have to accept a little bit of crazy with Kyrie. And I think as a fan, you have to know going in, there are no guarantees, right? That he could get in one of his moods at any time and he could just disappear for a while. And I think that's always something you have to consider. But I getting him motivated, I think, is key. And when you get him on the court, there's few who can do the things that he can do. So he's not my first choice, but I like Kyrie. I like him a lot. And I think he could be a great basketball fit here as well. All right. We'll wrap it up on that note. Actually, a couple more snuck in here. Ricardo, thank you so much. He says Lowry getting in shape looks super fit now. God, I would hope so. I mean, Riley called him out at his end of the year presser a few weeks back and, basically said like, I'll give you a mulligan, but if you don't show up in shape for training camp, you're in big trouble. And so I think Lowry took that to heart. And I think he's trying to do that. Jay South, thank you so much for tuning in. All right, friends, make sure you support our awesome sponsors, prizepicks.com or the PrizePicks mobile app. Use our code FIVE. Please support Better Edge. That's our newest partner. And guys, I'm telling you, this is sports betting with few concerns compared to some of the offshore books. No fees. Very easy to put money in and get money out. Completely legal in the state of Florida and in 45 out of 50 states total. And try it out. BetterEdge.com/5 reasons. That's the number 5 reasons. And they're going to hook you up with a $20 referral bonus. We will talk to you guys again tomorrow. I think Brady Hawk is going to join us tomorrow. And later in the week, we'll track down Ricky J. Mark whenever he gets his power back. We'll talk to you guys again on another episode of Dono Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. See ya.